Hello everyone, this is Algus. You probably remember me from videos almost 2 or 3 years ago. Used to do a couple of Let's Plays, didn't really get very far, but I'm going to try something new this time. We're going to try and we're going to make an RPG using RPGMaker. So I call this my Let's Build series. As you can see, I have RPGMaker MV. This is the newest version of RPGMaker. I don't have very much DLC for it, apart from just the sci-fi and maybe a few others here and there. But we're going to go ahead and start our project. As you can see, there's not much here since this is kind of the default palette. The first thing we're going to do, we have our project over here, we have our map listing here. We're going to create a new map. I'll go ahead and call it map 2. The reason why we're doing a new map, it's just going to be another, the first one's going to be something a little bit different. Go ahead and drag it under there. So typically with first maps, if you're going to do like story exposition first, you're probably going to leave them mostly blank. Let me go ahead and change it really quick. And what you can do is you can change it to really any sort of thing, and you can turn it to, I'm going to go ahead and change it to image of space. Dark space 2. We're going to go with space map. One moment. Let's see. Starlit sky. That one works perfect. So what we're going to do is we're going to make it kind of a blank map with just starlit sky. We'll go ahead and make the background kind of, oh man, I'm in Larry mode. We'll get more into the modes later. No. That works. Oh, I'm silly. One moment while I get that fixed here. I'll leave it a nice. No, that's snow. We'll just leave it blank. Let's see if I find glass. Glass could work as well. Maybe I can change this setting. I'll change it to indoor. There we go. And the reason why we're doing this again, for starting a scenario that you typically can go with a character who is kind of blank. Have like a whole background and everything kind of reflects on it. As far as flooring, to really get the most out of the background, you're probably going to need maybe glass. Thought we had some glass. Give me one moment. Let's see. No, that's water. That's nothing at all. Sorry about that. Let's see. Blank tiles. Dadgummit. There we go. There's a blank tile right there. So as you can see, it's now blank space. When we do our event, it'll basically be an invisible character in a black space background. Speaking of, let's go ahead and edit our teams. There are multiple different view sets here. Again, we have right now in the palette view, where essentially we can make aesthetic pretty changes. There's also event view where you can make or create events. and that one's where you do a little bit more of your programming. In this particular case, we're not going to edit with that just yet. We're going to go to a third view, and that is our basically our database manager. So I'm going to go ahead and look at our database manager. And they have the preset characters list already loaded. We're going to go ahead and get rid of them all. You can basically blank them out with a delete key. I haven't decided a character yet, but what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and make him a blank character. That way when the start of the story begins, you know, there'll be an area where you'll be able to hear the you'll be able to see the dialogue, and no one will be there, and it'll look really neat with a space background. That being said, let's go ahead and move on to the next area. What area did we say this would be? I'm going to go ahead and edit it. We don't want it to be overworld. You typically, well, I mean, you can have the game start in an overworld map, but typically people start inside of, either outside in the middle of a village, or inside a house, or inside a castle. Outside or inside are pretty basic for that. Sometimes they do in dungeons. You know, maybe your character's a prisoner, or but there are a few other things, and these are DLC for sci-fi. I'm not going to worry about them too much, at least yet. But I'll go ahead and do inside. We're going to say the main character is at their house. Now, typically, you know, you would have like a full listing. We're going to say he's just a common, you know, maybe archer or hunter. So we're going to give him more of a common house, or probably some flooring. We're going to go some wood flooring there. So there's some wood flooring. You could also adjust the shape of this. I'll go ahead and adjust it just a little bit. We're going to make it a little bit smaller as far as width. No, well, sorry. We're going to make it about 14 width. And we'll go ahead and start breaking this up. Now, another thing to consider when building anything really as far as aesthetics, you have kind of a top and a bottom. Perspective does take effect here. So in this case, we're going to do this. And you could do click and drag for some things. Like for instance, you could do this right here. It looks kind of like you have a layering there, but I kind of like it with 2. Makes it feel like it's a larger area. Now, to give it kind of more depth, you can do other things like that, but right now I'm just going to do like kind of a walling here. You only want to do that toward the back end, so that it shows the shadows. It's an aesthetic thing. But I'll go ahead and try to make the outlines of the room. That here, let's further divide the room. We're just going to call this his bedroom. The other one will be the kitchen, probably. There we have the illusion of 3 rooms in a single house. The B layer and the C layer deal with decoration. So we're going to start with a bed. You know, normally most people sleep in beds, so we'll give him a bed. What kind of bed do we want? Do we want to do like a straw bed? No, he's not. We won't make him necessarily poor. We'll make him a little sloppy though, so we'll give him an unkept bed. Sorry. So then another thing worth knowing on these other layers, you can't do a drag select like you can with some of the other layers. So we have kind of an unclean bed. He's a little bit of a slouch. Let's go ahead and add some room decor. So people typically do a bookshelf. I keep forgetting. Sorry. And let's add one more thing. Maybe a desk with a chair. We probably could add one or two more things. Let's see what they have in C over here. We can put something on the table. Like, no, that doesn't work. The reason that doesn't work, if you look at the outline of it, it looks like the wine is just in the air. So I'll need to clear that out. You can either do a blank or you can press Control Z, which will do it back if you're using a PC device. Control Z is going to be your best friend to just sort of quickly undo. Also through a door kind of here so that, you know, when he gets there, he's got doors to his rooms. Control Z again. There we go. So he's got doors, he's got what he needs here. Perfect. So he has a nice little room. Now, let's go ahead and get the kitchen started here. This is part of his kitchen counter. This is stove. The coloring looks a bit different, but it is a stove. Let's get in the kitchen. He's got the basics of the kitchen there. Let's see. I don't think we have like barrels and stuff. Bucket of water. Can't have that. A lot of RPGs don't factor in things like restrooms or things of that nature, so we just assume most people just go to an outhouse. So I won't worry about a restroom at the moment. I'll throw in some greens over here. Actually, I'll remove that from over there and I'll move it a little bit closer to the door. For aesthetics reasons, you'll be able to access the rest of the counter there. So, that's it. We have this kitchen. And we'll make a kind of a family room here. So, we're going to go ahead and get started on that. Sometimes people do a lot larger rooms. We're just going to do something like this for our main character because this is just his life. He lives very simply. I haven't decided a main character yet, but I'm thinking I'm gonna maybe he'll be a hunter starting out is what we're thinking, and he'll probably be going to the cave to hunt some food and resources and try to go on with his daily life as a hunter. Let's see, where were the chairs and tables again? Give him some style. He has some pictures on the wall, maybe a world map. A good table for this. I hate to do a small table, but I think I probably will have to. Well, maybe not. Let's see. Does this stretch? It does not. In that case, then I will probably just use that as a simple one. We'll put it a little bit out of the way of the rest of it over here. Table, put a couple of chairs in. Since he's a hunter, he probably has a few things around. We'll put some weapons on the wall. Let's see, we have a weapons rack. I bet it'll be under C. C tends to have the more accessory things. No, that still doesn't work. They have these things that you can kind of use, but then just, I don't know. There's probably a table for that I haven't seen yet. So we're going to go ahead and just add maybe a little bit of things, a few display cases here. Another table with like a helmet. Let's see if we can get that prepared. Helmet was over here. Anyways, with this, we basically have our room decorated for our hero. Now, I'll go ahead and save this project for now, because it's always better to save early and save often, because if you don't save, you'll possibly lose a lot of data. We still haven't even named the RPG yet, but we'll get to that in a little bit. The next thing is we'll look at making a character. Now, MV, it has an interesting feature where effectively you can create a character of your own. They have a tool near their database, which is Character Creator. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to create that. Let's see, I'm going to go ahead and randomize to get kind of the basis of a character. Don't want pink hair. Don't want weird accessories, but do want to have the character kind of interesting, a little quirky. Usually, a lot of characters are pretty youthful. That's the typical trope. But I'm going to go ahead and randomize until I find something that will work. If I don't find anything after 5 or 6 more, I'll probably create a new one. One more. I don't like the facial features, so we'll go ahead and remove that. Having a character go with blush the entire time will be kind of weird. Let's see. Facial marks we're just going to remove. I don't like his face too much either. I'm going to make him a little bit like that. Hair I don't mind, beard I don't mind, the eyes I don't mind that, that one looks kind of interesting. Give him a little more Henry aesthetic. No, I don't think that'll work for him. We'll make him look I like that actually. We'll just see if him not the eye accessory. Yeah, they do give you several options, and essentially this makes your battle sprites, your character image. You can do a few other fun little quirky things. You can give him hats and stuff. What was the one he was wearing? Oh, he had the goggles. Right. With the eyes is there. I guess this is the one where it has the trying to remember the one that they had with the facial marks. The ones with the eye. No, that won't work. I wanted to give him the appearance that he just does not slept for a while. Let's just make sure the outfit's what we want. What other outfits could there be that wouldn't really He's a bit of a hunter. Let's give him something not too fancy, but not too excessive either. I don't mind that one out at all, actually. That one works perfect. Now we have our main character. Oh, crud. I did not save that. I gotta rebuild it. Sorry about that, guys. Can you go ahead and refix him? I think he was this. Hair was... I don't remember what his hair fully was. We'll make something similar. I think the front was a little bit more... It was large, but it was... No beard. Here's your regular. Eyes were not sinister, they were... I could not sleep for days. That was the aesthetic I got from his eyes. Yeah, the nose works fine for me. We have a grin. No facial marks. No tail. No wings. Clothing we decided was that. It was like a blue and red. No, it was blue, dark green, and then I think the other one was red. He had something on that looked kind of like a kind of had like a red and white aesthetic. An accessory. It wasn't a cloak. He had goggles. We'll go ahead and make his eyes a little bit different. We'll give him red eyes. Because why not? Our hero needs red eyes. It's a very heroic thing to have red eyes. Actually, that may have been it. So, what we do here, we need to export it first. We export the face. Let's call him Hero 1. No, let's give him a proper name. Let's call him Frank. Frank will be our hero name. So that'll show up in our list of faces. Just make sure we got that. Okay. We export that. We gotta export our walk character. We gotta export the damage, so if he ever falls in battle, things like that. Call it Frank2.png. And the battler himself, we'll call it Frank3. Alright, so we have our character fully exported. Next thing will be to add him into the database. So you'll go into the database viewer. Remember what I talked about? There was the tile layering, the event layering, and then there was the personnel viewer. Or the database. We're going to go back to the database now. We're just going to make him actor 002. The reason why we're selecting 002 is to leave the first one blank for the initial scene. So they don't have classes yet, so we're going to call him Frank because that's what we decided for his name. And we will go ahead and put his name here. Since we exported earlier, Frank shows up. We'll go ahead and put his character up. Now, the damaged or injured animations are left separate. They're not part of the typical. That's essentially if we want to do a scene later on where he's just basically on the floor. We can essentially direct that. That's just an additional sprite for our preference, but we're going to go ahead and start with that. So we have our character. His name is Frank, and he lives here. That being said, let's go ahead and save. Some people will occasionally go in and they'll have like a front yard or do a few other things for be a little bit more aesthetic. We're just going to go basic for the time being. So, in order to fully map out what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and start with event layering on the next video. With event layering, essentially what we're going to do is we're going to start doing the actual scripting portion. We're going to start with introduction, then we're going to do a few things like, we'll see if we can remove the door. Actually, we probably should leave this blank. I'll go ahead and take care of that while we still have time in this video. And the reason for this is essentially we're going to make it more of an image rather than an actual physical door that shows up there. That way we can make states and toggle if the door is open or not. But this is our character house. I think it looks pretty smashing for someone who lives alone hunting monsters. But let's see what we got here, if there's any other aesthetics we can add within the next 3 minutes. But this is going to be the first in my series of games that I'm doing. I'm going to try every weekend to do at least 1 or 2 of these videos with RPGMaker and see, just walk people through how to create. From my understanding, there are probably a lot better people than me as far as understand modding and other things of that nature, but bear with me as I try to go through RPGMaker and walk you through how to create a game. My name is Algus. This is my first time attempting to do a RPGMaker series, and I look forward to working with all of you. Thank you.